Hello, I'm Hal Ottaway with the Wichita Postcard Club, and it's time once again for a postcard of the week. This week, I want to show you a card that has a lot of history, and it's so different, so unusual. I've been trying and trying to think, is there something else comparable in my collection or that I've seen for other Kansas communities or anything Wichita, and I can't think of anything. This is strange in that they have taken a photograph of four bank robbers after they were shot and killed, and they just laid them out on the sidewalk, which was wooden, uh, uh, a wooden walk, so to speak, and they took pictures. And I say they, I'm talking about the photographer there in Coffeyville, Kansas, all in October 1892. Boy, that's a long time ago, way over 100 years now. But these four men were dressed like cowboys do, with the boots, and they have a rifle and their clothes and everything. And they said that after this bank robbery, that there were several men who were going to rob two banks at the same time. Now, the Dalton brothers had lived in Coffeyville earlier, so they were kind of recognized as they were walking toward the bank by some of the people there in town. Well, what happened, as I understand the story, the good guys say, went to the hardware store and they got some men and they got some rifles or weaponry, so to speak, and were waiting for the outlaws to come out of the bank. Well, that all happened. And when it was all over, four of the bank robbers were shot, and four of the townsmen were shot and killed. So eight people in all. Now they didn't display, as far as I know, the town people who were shot, but they laid these bandits out, these bank robbers, out on the wooden walk and took pictures. And for a long time, I think the photographer there in Coffeyville was selling uh, views of these guys all laid out, and I'm sure they took a number of pictures so you could get to different ones. But I've collected, or I became so interested in this card that I'm showing today, and because it was postmarked in the September 1905. Now that would have been just 13 years after this bank robberies that went wrong, but and all of these men were killed. But reading the newspaper accounts and everything at the time, they said souvenir hunters started snipping off the mane and the tails, not the entire tail of the horses that were waiting there for the robbers to come out and jump on and ride away. But there was that, and then people were taking knives and cutting off pieces of clothing or snippets or something, like they could say, this belonged to Bob Dalton or something. Anyway, there were three Dalton brothers, Grat, Bob, and Emmett. Emmett did not die. He was sent to prison, later was paroled, and of all things, he went to Hollywood and became an actor. And he was even in, I think, several movies. He died in his 60s in California. But his two brothers, Emmett and Bob and Grat, they both were in this picture of four deceased men. I've always looked for another card that's earlier. Now, like I said, this one is 13 years from the time that it happened to when it was mailed. And you see lots of them on eBay, modern cards, maybe in the last 15 or 20 years. But older ones, I think they're, you know, you like to get the oldest of something. And this is what I've come up with so far for the Dalton brothers' demise. They're in Coffeyville, Kansas in October 1892. Thought you would enjoy seeing this and learning a little bit. By the way, in Coffeyville today, they have what they call a Defenders Museum. Now they're memorializing the people who died, the four men who died, who were trying to defend and to thwart the robbers as they came out of the bank. So I've never seen any pictures or anything like that having to do with the defenders, but instead of calling it the Dalton Brothers Museum, they call it the Defenders Museum. So if you're in the Coffeyville area, take a look and let me know what you think of their museum. I've not been to it yet, but would like to sometime. Well, thanks so much for being here this week, and we'll look for you next week. Bye bye.